A very good morning to one and all. Today, we have gathered here for a career guidance session, specially organized for the students of classes 10 and 12. On this very auspicious occasion, I would like to welcome our chief guest of the day, Honorable Mr. Manoj Krishnan, respected Principal Father Verghese Kachpalli, Vice Principal Ruby Ma'am, and all my dear teachers, friends, and parents. A very warm welcome to you all. Before we start, let me take you back in time to the 18th century. On a fine day during a regular class session, a teacher asked her students about what they want to be in life. Answers echoed from each corner of the classroom. Ma'am, I want to be a doctor, an engineer, a pilot. At last, the teacher came to the back bench with not much enthusiasm, expecting the same response. She spotted a boy in the corner all by himself, famished and dressed in rags. The teacher sarcastically asked the boy, "Son, what do you aspire to become in life?" The boy, who was silent, who was broken inside, all this while stood up and with utmost confidence and self-belief, he said, "Ma'am, I want to be the President of the United States of America." The teacher was taken aback. The class roared in laughter. They mocked and said, "Listen, kid, stay at your level. You're not even worthy of dreaming that big." But their mockery did not deter him. It lit a fire in him. And from that day on, he ensured that every single thing he did was taking him one step closer to his goal. He had a very clear vision of who he wanted to be. 20 years later, this young boy who dared to dream the impossible, climbing the steps of the White House, he became the 16th president of the United States of America, who changed the course of American history forever. This young boy, my friends, was Abraham Lincoln. I'm sure all of us gathered here have big, big goals and dreams. You're all filled with so much potential, but oftentimes we get weighed down by the opinions and expectations of other people and the vast array of options in front of us that we drift around and lose focus. This is the reason why we're not able to tap into our fullest potential. But we don't have to lose hope, because we have amidst us Honorable Mr. Manoj Krishnan, sir, who's going to guide us through this journey with his wisdom, experience, and knowledge. Over the past few years, sir has transformed the lives of thousands of students and catapulted them towards their goals. We are indeed very blessed and privileged to have you here, sir. Before we enter the session, let's all close our eyes for a silent prayer. Now, let me invite the school leader of Rajgiri Public School, Rachel Mary Paul, to welcome the gathering.
Good morning, everyone. As all of us students stand at the threshold of our lives and careers, where the choices we make carve the paths to our future, guidance is of the utmost importance. It is my pleasure to invite you all to this career guidance session, which I believe will be the turning point in our lives. It is my honor to welcome our resource person for the day, Mr. Manoj Krishnan. He is the founder and program guide at the Fine Tuner, which helps students, professionals, and homemakers. He is the chief guidance officer of his organization, the Compass Team, which focuses on emotional well-being. An erudite personality, he has completed his Masters of Business Administration from Bharathidasan University, Tiruchirappalli, a Diploma in Systems Management from NIIT Cochin, and a Bachelor of Science Zoology in ST College Alapi, University of Kerala, and is currently pursuing a Master's in Psychology. An advocate of personal social responsibility concept to improve the quality of human life, he has spoken and written on diverse topics. With 28 years of corporate experience, he is a keen watcher and learner of human behavior and its impact on the society. He is a resource person for the Student Police Cadets of Kerala Police. Sir, we are truly honored to have you here, and I extend a very warm welcome to you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
A heartfelt welcome to our dear principal, Reverend Father Varghese Kachapalli CMI, who is our constant source of guidance and motivation. Welcome, Father. A very warm welcome to our Vice Principal, Mrs. Ruby Anthony, who is our leading light. Welcome, ma'am. A huge welcome to our coordinators and dear teachers who always strive hard to pave the roads to our future and have worked tirelessly for the smooth conduct of this event. Welcome, teachers. A warm welcome to all the parents who have joined us today. Your presence means a lot to us. Welcome, parents. And finally, my dear friends for whom this event has been specially organized. You are as welcome as the flowers in May. Once again, a warm welcome to each and every one of you. And I wish you all a wonderful experience with lots of learning, leading to right choices and happy success stories for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. For the kind attention of all participants, the floor will be open for questions towards the end of Sir's session. So please feel free to send them in via the chat box. Thank you. Finally, the time has come. The moment we've all been eagerly waiting for. Let me take the pleasure of inviting Honorable Mr. Manoj Krishnan, sir, to enlighten us with his words and take us on a wonderful journey of self-discovery and self-realization. I'm sure sir is going to make a mark on each and every one of our lives today. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Respected principal, vice principal, teachers, coordinators, and the two young students who have just spoken out, parents and teachers. I would consider it rather a privilege and an honor to speak to you today. I had done this physically in Rajagiri School maybe about 3 years back before we had the pandemic. But I think it's been very pleasant talking to you today morning. And I hope I'll be able to share whatever little I've learned in the 20 years of my corporate life with young students and parents. So once again, before I start, I would like to thank the management and the principal and all the coordinators for having given me this opportunity to interact with you once again. Now, in fact, I was flattered when Jeffrey and Rachel spoke about me. I almost fell off my chair because it was a very good start to a very good session. And I hope each and every one of you takes back something at the end of the session. Now, I'll just share my screen. Can I do that, please?
Yes, sir.
I hope it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, contrary to tradition, I think I've chosen a topic which holds a lot of importance in the current context because we've all known, until now, whatever was happening was something totally different. And over the last 2-3 years, what has happened has taken us aback. So the current trends in employment, the current trends in education, and the current trends that are being followed closely have much to do with skills. And that is why I chose the topic, skills would decide the jobs of the future. Now, let me start with something very traditional. These are the points that I want all of you to ponder about. Probably in earlier days, when most of us, probably the middle-aged parents, we studied to get a job. Selection, of course, was based on something called scope, and I don't think much of it has changed even today. There was no scientific method to assess one's abilities. Traditional courses were given a lot of importance, and being an engineer, doctor, chartered accountant, or a civil servant was a matter of pride. I'm not saying it is not today, but things have changed. And we also went by elders' advice. A lot has changed over the last couple of years, and especially in the last 5 years. There is much that you as students and as parents need to understand. Now, what is different now? Today, you have engineering graduates who find jobs in banks and insurance companies. Many of them whom I have spoken to give rather very strange opinions or rather very strange suggestions. They say we wrote engineering, we got into engineering, tried a job, it didn't suit us. And then what we did was we wrote bank tests and finally got into banks. I've seen a lot of qualified professionals driving their own Olas and Ubers. I'm not joking. Probably if you talk to a few of them, you would definitely know. And I can even quote examples of a couple of professionals who have their own transportation companies with fleets of taxis. An investment banking professional who has done much in finance moves on to selling idlis. I'm not joking, it's a fact. The startup culture is today on a roll because many youngsters and students, those in school and those in college, are trying to become entrepreneurs by running their own businesses parallelly. I think it's a very good trend. I'm not saying it is something that should not happen, but at the same time, this is something that gives a lot of experience to students as well as those who try it out. And here, parents have a big role to play as far as supporting is concerned. Today, you have very crazy definitions, or rather designations. You have people who are called stand-up comedians, you have storytellers, you have ethical hackers, and I'm sure all the youngsters sitting in your respective places would definitely know much better than I do, because all of you would be very good YouTube watchers and people who study what is happening on YouTube. Today, one can make a living by being a YouTuber. I don't want to give examples because you know it possibly better than I do. Salary cuts and losing a job are no longer considered a shame, because at one point of time, we used to be asked this strange question: oh, have you lost your job? Today, it's probably an order of the time, an order of the day, or probably an order of our face, because losing a job is part and parcel of your daily life. E-commerce, without saying, has changed lives. Today, you're able to sit at home, order your food, order your clothing, order your groceries. The only thing I think you have to do is eat by yourself. That's the only thing that has not been substituted. So everything else is possible online. Work from home, something that we never dreamt of until the onset of the pandemic, has become a new order. Learn from home is no surprise. Today, you have a lot of universities offering courses online, giving you degrees online, post-graduation online, and this is only likely to go up in the years to come because this pandemic has changed the equations for all of us. Now, one of the most important aspects that we need to think of is that we are not sure of what jobs would exist in the next 5 to 10 years. Nobody is, and that's a strange aspect. Convenience and peace of mind are more important today than anything else. Now, what does the new education policy, NEP 2020, envisage for all of us? It is going to be a transformation. Practical knowledge and skill sets are going to be deciders, as they would lay emphasis on an aptitudinal approach rather than a course approach. What is an aptitudinal approach? An aptitudinal approach is one where students are gauged, students are judged, and students are promoted and supported based on their skills and aptitudes. So this has been long overdue, and I think it's the right time, probably by 2023-24, we would have this in place. And I'm going to say without any kind of hesitation that this is going to be a game changer for all those who would be in high school then. Because, when you go to college, you would have the opportunity to study for 1 year, break, go back to work, learn experience, and then come back. You might get a certification. You do it for 2 years, you might get a diploma. And you complete the course, you get a graduation. So here the choice is solely left to you. You will be able to decide what you need to do, whether you want to break it or you want to continue with it. But I think every year of learning is going to be one of experience for you. You can study what you want to the level that you want to. That's most important. And all these things, they focus on personal strengths and freedom of choice. Freedom of choice is something that we didn't have. And today, I think parents are moving to a system where they have children to decide on what they want to learn. And that's something that's very important in a society like ours. Now, I'll give you a small story. I think I've repeated the story a number of times in schools that I've spoken, but I think this is something that's very interesting. A friend of mine who came to meet me maybe about 2.5 years back from UK told me that he was invited by his managing director for dinner at his residence. So he went there, they started chatting. After a couple of minutes, the MD's son walked in, and this gentleman, his name is Chandy, he got introduced to him. And he said, Manoj, I asked him a very simple question. Nick, what do you do? But he said, the answer that he gave me surprised me. He said, I'm a carpenter. I repeat, I am a carpenter. So for about 2 minutes, he was actually silent because he didn't know what to speak. The MD saw him and smiled and asked him if he was surprised by this decision. He said, yes, considering an Indian context, I'm surprised because, I don't know what to say. Now, the MD gave him a very strange explanation. He said, right from childhood, my son had been pretty comfortable with handling tools. He used to watch people doing work. He used to watch many other things. And I felt that he had a very practical frame of mind. So after formal education, he took up a course in carpentry, which he wanted to do. And at that point of time, when he told me, he said, my son is currently exporting wood furniture and wood carvings with the help of 6 other people, and he is the chief carpenter. So the question that I want to ask here is, would we take this as an example and allow our children to do the same thing? It's only a question. Now, there comes something called dignity of labor. As I told you in the beginning, we have a lot of professionals who are driving their own tourist cars today, running their own fleet of vehicles as tour operators and so on and so forth. Now, today, it is more about finding your passion in what you do and earning an income out of it. I think the days of simply working based on scope, based on salaries and based on positions are gradually fading away. I'm not saying they should not be there, but anyone who takes up a course has to do it based on his or her aptitude and personal interest. Now, what are the deciding factors? This is especially for students here. What you need to do, focus on specific skill sets. I think every student watching this or every parent watching this would know that his or her son or daughter would be good at something specific. You'll have to observe, you'll have to watch, you'll have to find out what they are good at. Communication is going to be a winner. I'll just elaborate on this after a couple of minutes. Third important point is your emotional traits, your adaptability, your risk-taking ability, your decision-making skills, and your critical thinking skills. Today, there are courses which give you all these, which train you on all these things, but you should have a base. Now, why I took up this case study of Plaksha University, I don't know how many of you have heard about this. Plaksha University, if I'm not mistaken, started about 3 or 4 years ago. It has been started by about 25 to 30 Indian American CEOs who are occupying top positions in various companies. This is a campus spread across a few hundred acres in Mohali near Chandigarh. They felt that core engineering and technology didn't have people in the industry who had the requisite skills to work. Today, a lot of engineering graduates working in many companies. And all of us or many of us are proud to say we all did engineering. That's fine. But very frankly, I've seen a lot of engineering graduates who are not comfortable handling a screwdriver. Probably a plumber or a carpenter or somebody who's passed out from polytechnic would do it better. So basically, it gives us a thought process, what is engineering? Now, they felt that the basic skills that were required for all these people, especially in technology, was missing, and that is how Plaksha University was started. So it starts right from high school level, goes on up to the PG level, and you have professors from all universities across the world going in and taking classes. So it gives them a lot of exposure. So if you Google Plaksha University, you'll get all details. It's something different because the CEOs themselves thought that students didn't have the necessary skill sets. I'm surprised, when I go to engineering colleges or management colleges and take classes, there are many who still are not comfortable with writing a leave letter. And that's very sad. This has to change. We shouldn't be studying engineering. We shouldn't be studying medicine. We shouldn't be studying anything else simply because it is a matter of prestige. No, those days are gone. Every job that you take up today has a prestige. Please understand there is something called dignity of labor. It is the passion with which we do. I'm sure all of you have watched films like 3 Idiots or many other films. And in fact, very strangely, I happened to watch Hridayam yesterday on the OTT platform. Thus, I saw very, I observed two very strange things, which are very blunt. Now, one is the fact that, one of the characters in the film, the girl's father, he says, "Ende mon friendly camera okay, because he's a photographer. But mind you, he completed his engineering. So what did he go after? He went out after passion." Similar cases happen almost everywhere. So what I want to tell or rather request parents is, if there is a passion in your child, if there is something good that you observe in your child, please encourage him or her to do it. Because no job is good or bad. As long as you do things ethically, as long as you do things with 100% commitment, every job on this earth is really good. And I'll come to certain strange definitions that we can see. Now, there is something called India Skills Report 2020. I'll just take you through this. Now, it is a combination of an assessment of almost 3 lakh candidates from 3,500 educational institutions spread across 28 states and 9 union territories, carried out by WNet. WNet, as you can see, the expansion is a very famous organization which does this. So what was measured, or rather the factors that were measured were a student's employability and capabilities, along with English, behavioral traits, and certain domain knowledge, like your communication skills, your critical thinking, numerical reasoning, so on and so forth. And what did they find? So there are certain interesting facts here. Which are the states which supply maximum employable talent? What is employable talent? Talent from where you get good candidates to be employed. Now, from 2014 to 2020, if you see, Kerala is not among those. It gives us food for thought. Why? Why is it so? Why is it that people don't stick on to Kerala and move on to other states? There is a reason for all of us to think. Now, which domains have most employable talent? Starting from engineering all the way, if you look at B.Pharm and if you look at things like IT and Polytechnic, the employability level or the employability quotient has already gone up. Now, from about 51%, BE BTech has come down to 49. In fact, I was told in 2021, it has gone down further. MBA from 40 to 54%. Arts from 19 to 48%. These are two things that I want to focus upon. Commerce from 28 to 47%. Now, when I speak to most of my colleagues today who are employed in various companies in top positions, one thing that they tell me is that most of the IT companies especially have stopped picking engineering graduates on a larger scale. Today, they pick up probably 30 candidates in place of 60 or 70 that they used to do earlier. So they are giving opportunities for students across all domains, be it arts, be it commerce, be it humanities, whatever. The only thing that they want to know is whether the student is trainable, whether the student has got skill sets, or the student would require further training to continue in the organization, and how adaptable he or she is. Very, very important. Now, one thing that I want parents to understand here is, please give your children the freedom to choose what they like, rather what they love to. Give them the chance to explore. I think we live in a system where risk-taking is not something that's very common. We live in a system where risk-taking is considered probably a taboo. It's changed because we have a startup culture now. More and more students and parents are coming forward. I'm happy about it. The way students learn is undergoing a drastic change. We have seen over the last 2 years. Did we ever think that we would be sitting in the comfort of our homes and learning what has been taught in school? Were teachers prepared? No, but I think everyone became adaptable over a period of time. Teachers became adaptable. Students became adaptable. Now, learning from home is the order of the day. But let me tell you one thing. Nothing comes to a position which is as good as a physical classroom. Nothing comes to a position that is as good as a physical office where all of you interact in person. So personal interactions still hold fort. They are really good, and there is nothing that can substitute them. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we have to do all these things. But there have been a lot of changes and a lot of inventions that took place just because of this. How many of us knew what Google Meet was? How many of us knew Zoom? Or how many of us knew Microsoft Teams? We didn't, because we were not exposed to all these things earlier. Things have changed. Students are on a mode where they feel they can explore. The only thing that parents need to do is parents need to support them. Parents need to guide them. Parents need to nurture them. Now, what are the designations that you see today? Performance coaches, flavorers, pranic healers, bike couriers, speech language pathologists, horticultural therapists, nail polish namer. In fact, I was surprised when I saw this designation. I don't know whether somebody or anyone has heard about it. This is a very strange designation given to someone in a particular company which is into making nail polishes, a very famous brand across the world. Now, all that the person has got to do is he has to name the different types of nail polishes that come into the market. It's a designation. And I don't know the kind of skills that you look at. Now, here, I want to stress on one particular thing. When we invest so much in education of our children, why not something on aptitude testing? It is not because we as a company are promoting aptitude testing. No. Aptitude testing has been in place for the last maybe actively over the last 5-10 years. And especially over the last 5 years, aptitude testing has been pretty constant and in place. Many companies are today using psychometric analysis to understand the skills of the employees, to understand how the employees would fare, their personality traits, their different skills, and so on and so forth. So let us not put academic pressure on kids. I mean, today, or rather almost every day, I hear of parents and students talking about marks and grades. Students getting pissed off if the exam doesn't go right, if they feel that the exam is tough. I've heard of students crying after exams. I heard it happened after the class 10 board exam where 1 or 2 of the subjects were tough. Why should we have all this? Why should we have all this? That's not the case. I think let's take things simple. All of us will have to put in effort. All of us will have to work. We'll have to do things with 100% commitment. That's all fine. But please have open channels of communication. Now, I always say this. Everyone who picks up a cricket bat cannot be a Sachin Tendulkar or a Brian Lara. No. Everyone who's into basketball cannot be a Magic Johnson or somebody else. So every student has got his own capacity. Every student has got a potential. I think what parents need to do is they need to understand and guide these children. Teachers also need to nurture them. That's all. Have open channels of communication. I think that's one of the most important things. Speak openly to your children. Now, as an organization that is they're into emotional well-being, I had a father-son duo coming into my office about 3 years back. After I had spoken to both of them, the son said, "Sir, I want to speak to you for 2 minutes." I said, "Please come on." He told me something about which I was actually shocked. He said, "I live in a double-storied building. And when it is dinner time or probably lunchtime on a Sunday, when my parents are at home, my father calls me by sending me a WhatsApp message. He doesn't shout from the ground floor. I actually wanted to do that. So what can I do?" I didn't have an answer, very frank. So my only request to parents is, please keep your channels of communication open. Be parents, but be good friends. Try to understand what your children want, guide them. And children from your side, what you need to understand is you will have to put in effort. Effort is the most important thing. Let nobody think that you have possibly not done well because you have not put in effort. Put in 100% effort. Failure is not a problem because failure is one of the most important things that everyone needs to experience. And I would say that anyone who has not experienced failure has not experienced the most important thing in life. It is not success, it is failure. So what should students work on? This is something that's very important. Work on your personal development. Work on subjects, work on languages, that's all fine. Your marks and grades are something apart. Work on your personal development. Work on improving your communication skills. I say this on and off because communication skills would decide in about 2 or 3 minutes whether you are fit for the job. Because when most companies employ candidates, the decision is taken probably in the first 3 or 4 minutes when the candidate starts communicating. Be confident, be open. You can always say that you don't know something, but the way in which you put it across is very, very important. Acquire additional skills. Today you have the avenues for that. You have your YouTube channels open, you have academic online programs open, you have many things open. I think over the last 2 years, the number of resources only went up because possibly every house became a starting point of some business or something new. Every household, on a lighter side, I think has a YouTube channel on cooking because everyone started cooking at home. Increase your general awareness. Today, I don't find children reading newspapers at all. Happens in my household. Why? I'm not saying that you should go into newspapers and read them in detail. At least know what is happening. Have an outline or have a framework of what is happening. Because general awareness or general knowledge, as we call it, is very, very important when you appear for an interview. The questions may not be from the subjects. Questions could be from something totally different. Try to be active on professional sites like LinkedIn. You can always do. Students can take up an account on LinkedIn. Start interacting, start communicating, start writing, whatever little you know. So please understand that it is attitude that matters, nothing else. So you might find this strange because, this being a career guidance session, why am I not talking about the colleges, the courses, and anything else? I mean, that's something very traditional. I don't have to tell you what is available because everything is available on the net. I'm trying to guide you here in a totally different manner because I find this problem everywhere. Students not being able to develop their own skill sets in spite of the fact that they have all these things. Be open to learn. Be adaptable. Adaptability is very, very critical. When you work in an organization, your adaptability quotient has to be pretty good. You should be able to work in any kind of organization. If you're an introvert, I'm not saying it is wrong, but I'm only trying to say that try to build up friends. Try to build up friendship with those people who have the same wavelength as you have. So all these things are important when you look for a job, when you go for a job or when you select a course. Understand what your passion is, understand what your strength is, and more importantly, understand what your weakness is. That is where aptitude tests come into existence. There are a lot of myths about aptitude tests, saying that, it is something that is done for business, there's something that is done to make money. All that is fine. Everything in the world comes at a cost. But at the same time, let me tell you, aptitude tests tell you what you're good at and what you're not good at. That is your improvement areas. Aptitude tests tell you something very broadly about your personality. The kind of person you are, what you need to improve, what you should work upon, and so on and so forth. And this has been helpful for a lot of parents. I'm not saying this. The feedback from the parents that I've spoken to and I've interacted with, and also the students tell me this. They have given me very good feedbacks on the tests. Because, after the test is over, we have a post-test counseling, a one-to-one discussion. And, many students from Rajagiri Public School last year had taken this test. I'm not saying that tests are the only thing. No. You should try to understand what is going around. You should try to understand the number of courses that you have available today. It is not just restricted to probably 1 or 2 other traditional ones. I'll come to that now. What are the lesser known courses? Now, liberal arts is something because, it's close because my niece has already completed the course from Symbiosis in Pune. Even she didn't know about it until she was in class 9 or 10. So they attended a seminar. She was more actually inclined to teaching. She didn't want engineering or medicine. But I think the way in which she has passed out, the kind of training that she has got, the kind of interactions that she has made, is made of what she is today. I mean, it's a course that will probably develop your personality like never before. You have cartography. I don't know how many of you have heard this. It is the scientific art of map making and designing maps. You have global geographical information systems or GIS using IT today. Art restoration, astrobiology, museology. Product design is something that's gaining importance because consumerism is changing over the world. All companies want products and services, including packaging, that are very important to customers. You see an ad, you fall in love. You see a product, you fall in love. You see a packaging, you fall in love with it. So everything is changing. Deep learning. Deep learning is always related to IT. Many of us possibly have not heard about it or had not heard about it until now. Data analytics is very important. All of us know what it is. Virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. Sustainability. Now, for those in arts, humanities, and many other things, sustainability is going to be a major take as far as the study of subjects is concerned. ESG, environmental, social, and governance. These three are going to have an impact, including climate change. Today, there are courses on water conservation. There are courses on conserving energy, using green energy, and so on and so forth. So there are umpteen number of courses available today. You should try to understand what you're good at and what you want to study rather than going for the traditional ones. Now, every society needs doctors. Every society needs chartered accountants. Every society needs lawyers. Every society needs radio jockeys. Every society needs actors. The question is, it is not important what you do. It is important how you do it. Whether you do it with passion or something else. Today, you have a lot of film directors who are engineering graduates or management graduates who are very sound technically. You have musicians who are into, film, in the film field. Many of them who have completed engineering. So the idea behind this is to understand what you love to do. And that's very, very important. So I wanted parents and students both to attend this program simply because I also wanted parents to know what is happening today. Because parents are finally deciding factors. I also want students to know because students need to understand what is happening today as far as the job market is concerned. The skills that you need to get for yourself, the qualities that you need to have, the adaptability that you need to develop, and so on and so forth. So things have changed. So it doesn't make sense for me to come and tell you that if you go to this course or if you go for this course, this will happen. No. Broadly, I'm trying to tell you how the employability market or the employment market has changed over a period of time, because the last 2 years have been very crucial for all of us. Many businesses broke. So what survived? Businesses that went online survived. Gradually, we are coming back, and I only hope that everything comes back to normal within a short span of time, because physical classes are very, very important. All of us are bugged up sitting at home. I would have loved speaking to you probably in an auditorium in Rajagiri school had things been normal. Unfortunately not. And that's the best way of doing things. There's a saying in Malayalam, "Uppolam varathilla uppilittathu." I always believe in that. So when I speak to you in person, when I speak to you looking at your body language in a hall, it is totally different. But unfortunately, we have all been tied up because of certain reasons. So look at the lesson on courses. Try to understand what your strengths are. And aptitude assessment today is gaining importance because that will tell you very clearly, I repeat, what you should not select. I keep saying this. I want parents and children to understand that there is something that they should not select. That is the wrong course. Rather than guiding people on selecting the right course, I would say I guide people in not selecting the wrong course. Because if you take a wrong course, the implications are beyond what we can comprehend. I'll tell you an example. 5-6 years back, father, mother, and a son, they came to the office. Father said, I want to speak to the psychologist. We had a session. I generally talk to all of them before this. What I could understand is, this guy had a brilliant IQ. He wanted to go in for civil service. Unfortunately, the father, he had a different frame of mind. He wanted his son to do medicine because there was not a doctor in his house. So the son had to sacrifice his personal interest. I'm not saying everyone does this. But what happened was, he got admitted to a course. I think it was BDS. He came back after 1 year. He went into a state of breakdown. He went into depression. And then finally, when he came to our office, he was in a state of depression. It took us almost a year. Probably to counsel him, to give him therapy, to make him understand. And finally, he said, the age criteria still remain. And so I will again put him on to IAS coaching and then see if he has done. And I was told that he got into the course. though it was not for IAS. So things like this happen. So the best thing for us parents to do is to understand what our children want, what they want to learn. Children, please be open. Please communicate openly with your parents. That is what I want to say. I just don't want this to be a pure career guidance class where I tell you what course is available in which college. No, that's not the point. The point is something totally different. I think we need to do things that create social impact. That's something very close to my heart. What is social impact? Today, you do business, but at the same time, you do well by doing good to others. Money is involved. I'm not saying no. You should get good salary. You should have a good point of life. You should have a good level of convenience and comfort. But please understand that when you do something, please do it keeping everyone in mind. So when you have something like a pandemic, you don't know who's going to help you out. So we'll have to be socially responsible. Understand what others want. Don't do what is, probably that particular act which makes somebody else uncomfortable and so on and so forth. So as an organization, I think we have come a long way. We started with assessing the emotional and the other qualities, overall assessment of students. We have been working with schools, students, parents, and teachers for the last 12 years. And the pandemic has taken a hit because, we have taken a hit because of the pandemic, because, we were purely an offline model company. We do, of course, Aptitude tests online. It's picking up. But currently, we are building a platform that will help students and parents to come online and take all these services. So, that's going on. So that's about it. I think we have almost come close to an hour. I thought I'll spend more time interacting with parents and students because that is what probably would add more value to this particular session. So if there's anything that you want to type or you want to ask me over the mic, please do. Yes, please.
Participants, for your kind information, the chat box has now been enabled, so please feel free to send in your questions. Thank you.
Even if there is a provision for people or students or parents to speak and then ask me, I'm quite open. There's no problem because we have time. So I wanted this to be more of an interactive session. Now, before you start off, I'll give you one more case study. I think I had posted this on LinkedIn also. Many parents had called me up personally. Now, this happened not long back, recently, when a father and son came to meet me in my office and they wanted to do an aptitude test. The father came and told me, sir, my son wants to go in for engineering. Please do an aptitude test. I said, I will not do an aptitude test because you've already decided on engineering. Why should you do an aptitude test? If you have decided something, an aptitude test is not the medicine. He said, what should I do? I said, please try to understand what your son. We spoke for almost an hour. And finally, both of them decided that they should take the test. Rather, the son should take the test. The son took the test, and after about 1 week, we had a discussion in the office on what he wanted. And mind you, this guy was brilliant as far as the artistic point of view was concerned. He was good at art. He was good at creative drawing. He was good in animations and anything that had to do with fingers. His manual dexterity skills were very high. And I suggested that he go in for animation. So finally, the parents agreed. And after 1 year, I had this particular gentleman coming into my office with a box of fees. He said, sir, my son got admitted to animation, probably one of the good colleges in India. And he has stopped the first year exam. He came with a box of seats. I think nothing is more rewarding than this. You might want to select a particular course, but think twice whether your aptitude, your skill, your knowledge, and what you want to do is in line with the course that you're going to select. I've heard many principals say, with sincere apologies, I'm somebody who's very open in talking. You're very good in studies. You've scored well in science and maths. Why do you want to take up arts? This was a couple of years back. And I don't think that's right. Because teachers and principals and everyone else, including parents, will have to guide. Because there is no subject in this world which is good or bad. Earlier, he used to say, what has he done? He has taken BA history. So, I mean, he was probably looked at as an average student, somebody who was not very good in studies. Today, it has nothing to do. I have a lot of friends who are average in school, doing very well in life now. Many of them are reputed surgeons. Many of them are reputed copywriters. Many of them are, into various walks of life, doing wonderful things. And always please understand that extraordinary things are always done by ordinary people. We are all ordinary people. I think we are all capable of doing extraordinary things. And that is what we need to understand. Yes.
So there's one question that has come up.
Please.
The question is, while choosing a career path, what is the parameter that should be given more weightage? Subjects you're passionate about or the ones that fetch you the most marks?
Okay. Now, the question is, if there are subjects that fetch you good marks, fine. If you're an all-rounder who's good in almost all subjects, I wouldn't mind if you choose anything. But there is one more question that is hidden. You should try to understand what you're good at. That is very important as far as students are concerned, and parents should also know this. Observe your children. Have you ever thought that there is something about which you're passionate in the sense that you have probably an affection beyond certain levels where you love to do it irrespective of whatever happens? It could be writing, because you don't look at rewards. You don't look at what is happening around. You simply do it because you love doing it. It could be probably reading a book on automobiles. It could be something about art. It could be something about painting. It could be about sports. And that is what you need to select. And today, for almost everything, there is a subject or there is a course. Today, you have sports management courses. Mind you have sports management courses. You have courses on gaming, which is, in fact, that's something that I forgot to mention. You have game management, you have sports management, you have almost everything that's covered under the sun. So you have to try and understand what you're good at, something that you will not be able to live without. If you're a singer and if you say that, I cannot live without singing for a day, I think probably you can even take it up as a career. Why? Many good singers are qualified people. You might say there is competition. Everywhere there is competition. There is no cakewalk anywhere in life. Please understand that. I think parents should also understand and students should also understand. Your hard work and commitment along with time would definitely matter as far as the results are concerned.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is advanced computer skills mandatory for success? Have those of us who opted out computer science limited our options for the future?
May I know who asked this question, please?
The question was asked by Rachel.
Rachel, it's a very good question. Wonderful. I think the reason why I wanted to say that it's a wonderful question is because there is something that I need to tell you as far as this question is concerned. All of us need not be proficient in computers, not at all. But over the next few years, all of us should know at least the basics of operating the internet, probably things like Google Pay or any new technology that comes in. Proficiency is something different. If you're going to be a chartered accountant tomorrow, or if you yearn to be a chartered accountant, you'll have to work on the accounting subjects, commerce, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, you should be able to understand what technology can do as far as your subject is concerned. You should be trainable. You should be adaptable. So anyone in this world need not be a coder. But I think over a period of time, we are all moving into a situation where there is something new in technology that is called no code. I heard of it only about probably a month back. There is something called no code where you can build programs which are already customized based on just typing skills. So you would have a customized module on your own. So understanding the basics and trying to learn a bit of it is always important. You need not be proficient. You don't have to be a coder. But knowing what the subject is and knowing how to operate certain things is always welcome. You're not being left out. Rachel, please understand you're not being left out at all. Because every person in this world who has got knowledge and skills in his domain or her domain will be able to succeed. There is no doubt on that.
Thank you, sir. So there's one last question.
Yeah.
That is, what is the duration of the aptitude test?
Now, see, the aptitude test has two modules. One is a module on personality. The other one is a module on differential skills. I'll tell you why. The personality test can be taken by anyone from class 8 upwards because it is a self-assessment test. It tells you what you're good at. You're making an assessment about yourself. It takes about 25 to 35 minutes maximum. And I'll tell you, based on the personality tests, I've been able to guide many children simply because X or Y was not suitable for them. Now, I'll give you an example. If you are not empathetic, if you are not compassionate, if you're someone who is, okay, anything can happen of a type, I would not recommend that you go in for something that is probably close to medicine or human service. Because for somebody who is into human service or medicine or something else, it is not only skills that matter. Compassion matters. You have to be compassionate with people. You should be able to adapt to what they say. You have to be able to understand what they feel. You should be empathetic. I mean, you cannot just be a doctor to make money. No, that is gone. So every skill, somebody who's into probing, somebody who's technically sound. I've heard a lot of parents saying, he does repairs for almost everything. I would definitely say, please go in for engineering or something that is related, because that is a line for you. And that is what you need to understand about others. First of all, take time, think about yourself, try to understand what you're good at, what your strong points are and what your weak points are. Every student must know this. If you don't know what your strong point is, at least try to understand what your weak point is, so that you can make improvements. It's very, very important.
Thank you so much, Manoj sir, for patiently answering all the questions. It was indeed a very inspiring and eye-opening session. Your words of deep wisdom and insight has had a significant impact on all of our lives. Thank you, sir, for making this such a truly mind-blowing and memorable presentation. We hope you'll be able to join us again.
Thank you so much. In fact, if any parent has got any query, and if he or she or any student wants to talk to me, the first number given on the screen is mine, 9633651342. Open to giving you any kind of guidance that you may require at any point of time. Before ending, I'm surprised that called Manufacturing Consent by Noam Chomsky, which is a business book, something that's very famous. That is something that I've read, and a couple of similar books. So, but for those readers, today there are a lot of things available, a lot of resources available, and more than reading, I would definitely say if you have the time to put things into practice, please do that.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, once I start following a subject of my passion, and what do I do if I feel it's not right for me halfway through?
Halfway through, go to the next subject, or try to understand why you have lost passion for them. Talk to people. I think communication is very important. Now, you should always have somebody, your friend, your father, mother, anyone, or close confidant or somebody with whom you can open up. It could be your teacher, anybody else. Please try to understand why you have lost the passion. I think trying to dig out into the reason is one of the most important aspects. And then if you do something like that, it makes sense. Otherwise, you try to do what is best next for you. I mean, there should be a reason why you have lost passion for it. There could be some incident or something that is correlated. Try to understand. And then if you're able to gauge why, I think you might still go back. Because passion is something that you will not lose very easily. If you're passionate about food, unless and until you have an incident which probably gives you a shock, you will continue to be passionate about food until the end, or until you lose interest in it.
Thank you, sir. So we have one more question.
Please.
So what if a person by his situations is entitled to take up a job just by being concerned about the stability or security it offers?
Well, it's a very good question. Now, this is what we all did earlier. Probably many of us did this when we were into our first jobs. I'm sure there are many parents who are listening to this. Purely because of stability and security it offers, many people take up the job. Then what happens is that you will not find value in what you do. If you always want to be on the comfortable side, I'm telling you, many of us are employed today because there were other people who took up risks in life. It is because, we had industrialists who took up risks that there are companies today. It is only because there are companies today, many of us are working. It is because many of us took risks because there are startups today. and so on and so forth. So risk taking is something very important. So when you're in a comfort zone, or when you're a zone where you don't have much to offer in terms of probably value, you would feel comfortable, you would feel secure, but you should also try to understand what you're giving back. In such cases, I think it is important that you understand what is happening and then analyze yourself. You can always change, because once you gain a particular level of experience, you can always change jobs, because jobs are at plenty today. If you have the skill, if you have the aptitude, and if you have the frame of mind to change yourself, you can always get jobs. Sometimes it's not easy. It also depends on time. But what I need to tell you is that, you also need to understand that there is something that you give back to the society. Something in terms of value addition. Something that's very important.
Thank you.
So all of us in life, see, I'll tell you, as students, there are many of you who would have thought, no, exam is tough. I might lose. What do I do? Should I give up? Now, if everyone starts giving up in life, there is no meaning in life. You have to fight, because, there are many people who are not as probably, maybe many of them who are not as competent as you, many of them who are physically challenged, who have done wonderful things in life. Look at those examples. Try to watch one or two inspirational or motivational videos which are available, on the net. There are many things, and one small incident can give you a spark and change your life. That is what happens in most cases. So you should try to understand whether the job you are doing is a monotonous one, or it's something that gives you passion. See, there are two ways of going to office, or even two ways of going to school. I'm sure you would find a lighter side to this. So if you feel that a teacher is not doing well, and that is the first period the next day, you'll get up in the morning and say, oh, tomorrow the first chapter is, the first class is from this teacher. How do I go? But if the same teacher is, probably a different one, or he or she is a change teacher, doing something different, giving value, you might want to go back as early as possible to school to attend this class. That's the same way you go to an office. If your boss is good, if he or she is encouraging, if you feel that the job that you're doing is good enough, and if you feel that the job you're doing is probably something that's close to your heart, you'll definitely go with full interest. And that's a difference.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, what do you have to say about the current developing world with NFTs and the metaverse?
Well, I'm not an expert on NFT, nor am an expert on metaverse, but I'll give you a broad framework. Now, I personally feel NFT is something that's been probably invented or brought out for people to make quick money. It's about a fad. So as RBI rightly pointed out, there is something called a physical currency which we all have. We can all go digital, metaverse can happen, many things can happen. But we all need to understand that the human interaction that is currently happening is actually going down. Especially over the last 2 years, we have all been interacting only over screen, right? So the level of personal interaction, and do you feel at any point of time that the level of personal interaction is something that can be compared to the level of digital interaction? No, I don't feel so. I would always be happy to come and address you personally in an auditorium, as I said in the beginning of the conversation. Similarly, as we are going digital, as more and more things are happening, the interaction with the screen, the interaction with the digital medium, and the interaction with probably something that we can't see is hottening. It's going up. The intensity is going up. And probably I feel this will only lead to problems of more complexity in future. I always ask parents and teachers when I go for sessions, when I used to go for sessions in schools, can you tell me 10 phone numbers by heart? In an audience of 200 or 300 people, hardly 3 or 4 used to raise their hands, because every one of us today is accustomed to the phone. We don't dial people by the numbers. We dial by looking at the phone book. You don't know what the number is. And if the phone is lost, contact is lost. Very, very simple, which means the interaction is not there. So I'm saying that all this is good. Technology is good. Technology should always be something that aids human beings in doing things better. But there is something called judicious use of technology. That's what we should be bothered about. So it's for us to wait and see as to what metaverse can do or NFTs can do. And I don't know how many of you really know what NFT expands to. It is called non-fungible tokens. It's a digital medium. It's a digital currency. And all countries, there are many countries taking up digital currencies, but at the same time, it is something that's probably making people rich by the day. I don't know how many of you read this. There was kind of an NFT or a painting that was displayed in Russia. A security guard who was watching this and felt bored. He was actually half asleep. So when he felt bored, what he did was he drew two eyes on the painting and it lost all value. Then somebody said you could convert this to an NFT and sell it online. So that is what is happening now, and that's how the world is moving. So to a large extent, too much of addiction to technology, too much of dependence to technology, I personally don't endorse. I always feel that it is something that is used for our convenience, not to make us idle. And mind you, today, the kind of health issues that all of us face, including students. I know students who tell me, or probably my son's friends who tell me that we can't climb 2 stairs because we have been sitting at home for the last 2 years. Our muscles are cramped, body aches, and probably we'll have to start being physically active over and again. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, what are the possibilities of humanities courses?
Humanity offers many, many possibilities. One among them is liberal arts. You can go in for sociology, you can go for psychology. You don't have to be a pure science graduate. You can go in for courses like, without doing a bachelor's, you can even go in for, masters in humanities. You can go in for international relations. You can go in for conflict management. There are n number of courses available today. You can go in for civil services. I know of chartered accountants who have taken science and gone in for CA. It is not that you go in for BCom and then go in for CA. No. People might find it strange. Humanities has got n number of possibilities. It all depends on how you perceive things. So many people say, should I go in for a BBA first and then go in for MBA? Not required at all. I did my MBA after zoology. And today, I try to understand why I did zoology, because there was nobody to guide me there. So I'm saying the number of courses and the variety and what you can do purely depends on what you want to do with that particular course. If civil services you're fine, start reading every scrap of paper. I think you should be a very good reader. You should try to understand things happening around you. You should be a good observer. You should try to pick up everything that's coming your way. Because, it's a combination of various things. Liberal arts is today a combination of various subjects. Liberal arts is something that gives you a combination of economics, psychology, and statistics or mathematics. Liberal arts is something that gives you the freedom to think and do. There is no probably spoon feeding. You have to prepare notes yourself. You have to, upload them yourself, and you have to write exams. You only have lecture sessions. So I think, we all have to get out of this comfort zone. That this is the syllabus, this is what I need to study, and this is what I need to do. No, those days are gone. Self-learning is very, very important. Try to use resources, try to interact with people, try to know what is happening, and then learn. And experience, I think, will teach you a lot of things.
So the next question is it possible to pinpoint a career option after taking an aptitude test, or again, few options will be open?
Okay, very valid question. Now, this is one question probably which most of the parents and students would have in mind. Now, an aptitude test is a pointer. An aptitude test tells you clearly the areas that you're strong in and the areas that you need improvement in, based on your personality and based on your different skills. Now, based on differential skills, I've told many people who wanted to do actually engineering. So if your mechanical reasoning skills, which have questions from physics and related subjects more, are not good, I don't think you should go in for engineering. So if your spatial skills are not good, you should not take up a course in design or art or whatever, because a person who knows how to draw, who is creative, can do very well or does very well in spatial skills. That is what we have understood. The marks and the ranking will clearly show up. If your personality shows that you are somebody who is compassionate, who can do things now, take up a course like MSW. Today, you have foundations of more major companies offering you very good job prospects. Social accountability and social responsibility are on an all-time high, though the level of awareness is low. You can take up a course. Today, the kind of social impact programs happening with companies, Say, for example, Infosys Foundation, or the Shivnadar Foundation, or some other foundation, the kind of jobs that are being offered to qualified candidates. I mean, selection process is very rigorous, but you should have an aptitude. You should be prepared to work in different areas. But the kind of intrinsic motivation that all these jobs give you is very high. So today, I mean, what I'm trying to tell you is all these aptitude tests are very good pinpointers. They can very clearly tell you what you are good at and what you are bad at. Probably if you take up engineering, I may not be able to say whether computer science is good or this is good. But based on your spatial skills, I can definitely tell you whether something that is related to drawing or creativity is good for you or not. So for certain things, you need abstract reasoning skills. There are a lot of students who have got very good abstract reasoning skills, logical thinking, decision-making skills. All these are very important when you go at a managerial level or at any point of time in life. What you should do, you should be able to take a decision, whether it is right or wrong or something different. Yes, please.
So the next question is, what if we really have a passion for two contrasting subjects and both are equally good? We are equally good at both. So we are very confused as to which one we should choose as our career.
Go by your gut feel. I hope all of you know what your gut feel is. There is something called a gut feel. What is a gut feel? Now, when you try to do something, your mind says, this is better for you. I always practice that. If I feel that my inner mind says that this is good for me, fine. But at some point of time, if you feel you have another option because there is another subject that is passionate or close to your heart. If you're good at both, fine. Now, this question being put up, I'll tell you something very strange that is happening now because I have been a part of this. When I was in school, I took up something called biomaths. And today I feel, or I tell children and parents that biomaths is something like being on North Pole and South Pole at the same time. There is no correlation at all. Why? Why do you take biomaths? You either take maths or you take science. Is it because you want to write both engineering and medicine because both are good? You cannot be a doctor or an engineer at the same time. If you want to be a doctor, why should you go for engineering? I have parents from specific places in Kerala calling up and asking me this. He said, I want to be like ex-IAS officer. I want to take up engineering first and then going for medicine and then go into civil. I said, madam, what do you mean? You cannot take up role models like this. You should try to understand what your son is good at. Have you ever spoken to him? No, this is what we want. That is not the case. So coming back to the question, if there are two things that are passionate to you, go by your gut feel. There is something that your mind tells you. X, this is what is good for you. Go with this. You can always do that. But in case, the first thing doesn't work out at any point of time, you have an option. So always, I always tell parents and children, always have three options. Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. Because all three should be something that's good as far as your career option is concerned. Subjects that are good as far as you are concerned, or skills that are good as far as you are concerned. You could be good in human service at the same time. You could be good in social work. You could be good in humanities. Go by choice. So one of these you can always choose.
So we have one last question.
Yeah.
That is the psychometric test same as aptitude test?
No, psychometric test is actually a technical name, which is more into probably job-related things given at the corporate level, where companies use certain parameters to take up employees. Whereas an aptitude test is basically something that tells you whether you are fit to join a particular course. Now, what is aptitude? In Malayalam, we say Abhiruchi. Now, I told you an example in the beginning. There are a lot of children at home who have this particular habit of repairing things. That is basically an aptitude. So if they are trained properly, they can do wonders in that particular subject. There are many students who do this. If there is a plumbing problem, they repair taps. If there is a problem with electricity, they repair tubes. They do that, they change lights. And for them, it is basically a way of doing things that they are comfortable with and they do it the right way. That is basically your aptitude. Whether you have an inclination to learn. So that is basically aptitude. Whereas a psychometric test is a broader, a concept which is used more in the corporate level to assess employees and their suitability in particular jobs. More of a psychological angle which is attached. I think even in today's aptitude test, personality test, you have the psychological angle because a psychological angle is very, very important to them. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for patiently answering all our questions.
Thank you for the questions. I think probably once I started saying that people could ask questions, more questions came up. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. Now, as we come to the end of the session, let me invite Ryan Jomi of Class 12C for the vote of thanks.
A very good morning to the guest speaker of today's webinar, Mr. Manoj Krishnan, our principal, Reverend Father Verghese Kachpally CMI, Vice Principal, Ms. Ruby Anthony, coordinators, teachers, dear parents, and my wonderful friends. Quoting the words of the American writer, Mr. William Arthur Ward, feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. It gives me immense pleasure to be assigned with an opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks. Firstly, I would like to thank the guest speaker, Mr. Manoj Krishnan, for taking time out of his busy schedule to give us all a clear insight into the topic. Sir, I'm sure that the pearls of wisdom you dropped along the way have reached safe hands. On behalf of everyone present here, I extend my heartfelt gratitude. Next, I would like to thank our dear principal, Reverend Father Verghese Kachpally CMI, for being the sturdy backbone through all our endeavors. I would also like to thank our Vice Principal, Ms. Ruby Anthony, for her constant support and guidance every step of the way. I'll fail in my duty if I didn't extend my gratitude to the coordinators and teachers who pieced together this interesting and informative webinar from the ground. Last but never least, I would like to thank all the parents and students for gracing this initiative with your active participation. I feel the best way to condense this entire webinar is through what Manoj sir rightly said. It is not important what you do. It is important how you do it. I hope all of y'all will be able to relish the slices of knowledge that have been passed to each and every one of you through the course of this program. And may these slices be the